Hi everybody, we're still dealing with phonology and we're going to see further notions, in phonology. Of course, in phonology, as one branch of linguistics, we try, to describe what exists in the mind of the native speaker as linguistic knowledge. And as far as phonology is concerned, we try to see what happens or what is stored as pieces of information about the sounds of one's language. So what do you have in your head? You have got the sounds or the phonemes. And of course you have got also the rules. For example, we have got a phoneme that we pronounce as t. This t can be pronounced both as d or t, depending on the phonetic environment where t is found. Okay. Now, of course, we can talk about the rule as being a specific rule, which means that it does not apply to all instances of t between vowels. It isn't a part of the grammar of other dialects of English. It's only one way to make sequences of vowels and voiceless consonants easier to say. Now, the rules that we discover are often natural, in that one can find an explanation for many of them in terms of ease of articulation, but they are not inevitable or innate. They are specific rules of particular dialects or languages and had to be learned. Now, a way to think about phonemes, you have a mental dictionary where you store the words you have learned. What information does it have to contain for each word? At least the meaning of the word, the sound of the word. Now, how much detail do you have to remember about the sound of each word? Now, of course, it's something which is very difficult. It's tough to remember. For example, do you need to remember that sitting begins with s or sh? Is the next vowel e or I? Is the next sound t or d? Does baiting begin with p or b? Is the next vowel a or o? Is the next sound t or d? Now, if you can predict something by a rule, you don't have to remember it. Just remember the rule, the things that can't be predicted. So it's the existence of rules in the mind of the native speaker that facilitates everything for him. Okay. Now, of course, you remember the example of the diphthong. We have got I in our mind, and through the rules, it can be pronounced as I or I, depending on the phonetic environment, depending on the rules that are stored in our mind. Now, languages can differ in what is predictable. Let's talk about Korean. The sound L and in Korean. We have got words like rupee, keri, saram, okay, and the others here. Look at the phonetic environment of L and the phonetic environment of R here. Okay. Now we notice that R is always in front of a vowel here. Okay, but L is never in front of a vowel. What does this mean? The place where we find R, we don't find L. So here we can say that they are in complementary distribution. Okay. So what is supposed to exist as a piece of information in the mind of Koreans? So here we have got only one sound, which is L. Koreans don't have to remember if a word has L or R. But that phoneme has two allophones here. And these allophones are obtained according to the rules here. L can be realized, can be pronounced as R or as L in different phonetic environments. So in Korean, L and R are the same here. They belong to the same phoneme, this one. But of course, there are two realizations of the same phoneme. These realizations are determined by different rules. So Korean works like this. We have got the sound or the phoneme in our mind, which is L. Here, This L is pronounced as or L. Okay. These are what and L are called allophones or realizations of the phoneme L. Okay. So while in English works like this, L, is a separate sound, is a separate phoneme. It's different from in English. So these are two different phonemes, and they have got two different realizations here. Okay. So look, in English we have got L as a phoneme. It is realized as L. This is one of the realizations of it. Is another phoneme, and this is its realization. Now, in Korean, we have got only one sound, one phoneme, and it is realized as L or here. So, in fact, here, how can we tell, or how can you tell, how any particular language works? So, we can talk about the writing system. It may give a clue. Alphabets and similar writing systems tend to distinguish phonemes, but not allophones. And in fact, Korean has only one symbol for both, L and while English, of course, has two, one for each. But be careful, this is not reliable. Writing is not a reliable criterion in this case. What if there is no writing system? How can we make the difference between S1 and S2? Okay, how can we say that S1 and S2 sound 1 and sound 2 correspond to two phonemes or just one? Here we have got, the answer, okay, or the solution comes from the notion of the minimal pair. What is a minimal pair? Two words with different meanings, identical in every way except that one has S1, sound 1, where the other has sound 2. For example, we have got lead, read, lead, read. What's the difference between these two words? We have got here in the first, in the initial position we have got L, and here in the initial position we have got So we have got everything identical except one, L, in the same position here. So both words, lead and read, form a minimal pair. And the contrast between them is due to the fact that here we have got L and here we have got Same thing for kale, care, load, road. Okay, so a minimal pair is the case where we have got two words having exactly the same sounds except one in the same position. Okay, these are not, if you like, minimal pairs. Call, car, because we have got a difference not in terms of just one sound but at least two. So we have got the vowel which is different from here, and we have got the L which is different from here. So this is not a minimal pair. Same thing in here. Okay, same thing in here. These are not minimal pairs. Now the result, if you can find a minimal pair with sound 1 in the first word and sound 2 in the second, sound 1 and sound 2 correspond to distinct phonemes. So in English, L and correspond to two distinct phonemes, L and L and contrast, they contrast. This is the function of sounds in languages. Sounds or phonemes do make the difference between words. They contrast words. Okay. Now, if there are no minimal pairs, probably sound 1 and sound 2 are allophones of a single phoneme. This is the case of and L in Korean. Two sounds that correspond to a single sword sound. Now, we would like to know what determines when you get sound 1 and when you get sound 2. How? This is the answer that we are going to get, in the next lecture.